I think no conversation, will be complete without AI, which is
Yeah.
really something that
Right. Of
everybody talks
course.
about. And I think
Yeah.
in this book, you talk about, how AI can influence building mastery, and you talk about known practice and unknown practice, right? You talk
Hmm.
about the concept, and therefore how, even though there is AI, the fact
Hmm.
that there are known practices which probably AI will know, but unknown practices which probably is not known to the world, and therefore that being a big point in building mastery. So talk to me
Yeah.
about that, and I think that was a very interesting concept that I really loved.
Well, I gotta say, first of all, like everyone, including myself, is just gobsmacked by the developments of large language models and generative AI. This was something that I think really was unexpected to people 10 years ago. And when I was writing this book, I mean, one of the reviewers, I love her, but she was like very, very critical of me because I didn't write more about AI. She was like, "You're writing this book and you don't have a big section on AI." And the reason I didn't is because book publishing is a slow process. I started this book before ChatGPT had even come out, and it's going to be out hopefully for another decade or two. And there's a real risk of making pronouncements about new technologies that just seem totally ridiculous 10 years later. And it's just because making predictions about things is hard. And so I personally, I think our own ability to say where these technologies are going and what the actual implications are is pretty weak right now. So I don't want to be here with my crystal ball saying, this is what's going to happen now with large language models. And I think anyone who is saying that is talking out of their butt a little bit. But what I will say about it, and what I think is kind of generally true of technologies, is that technologies enable new cognitive powers in people, and they also open up new cognitive terrain for skills that we hadn't appreciated or imagined before. And so I think often when there is a new technology, we often focus on the substitution effect first. So we often
Hmm.
focus on what is this replacing that previously people were doing, and it seems like the share for the human mind has shrunk. So, the classic example of this that everyone talks about is Socrates. And Socrates, when paper was coming out and people were writing down ideas, which previously was this oral tradition that was memorized speeches that were handed down from teacher to student, he was saying, you know what, this is going to rob the faculty of memory because we had to memorize things and now students will just be able to look it up. And the thing is that he wasn't wrong. The
Correct.
ancient Greeks had these elaborate mnemonic techniques to memorize things, and we don't really use them anymore. And we don't
Correct.
have as good memories as Socrates did. But what he missed was, by focusing on this substitution effect, he was missing this new domain, which was that once you write down knowledge, all of a sudden you can accumulate far more than a person could study in a lifestyle in a durable format. So what he was focused on was, well, you're not going to be able to memorize things. But what he didn't understand was that now that you didn't have to memorize things, you could accumulate far more knowledge that could be inside any one person's head. And so I tend to think that the substitution effect, the way that we see, well, all these like kind of low end programming tasks can now be taken over with AI. Or, I had to, hire some illustrator to storyboard some images, and now I can just get AI to do it for me for this first draft and stuff. But what I think is missing is all the ways that having these tools in the long run is going to enable new forms of creativity, new forms of problem solving, new forms of knowledge representation discovery. And I mean, the reliability and usefulness and domain of these tools still has to be proven. I think they still have a lot of bugs in them. Like, I wouldn't use large language models for doing research for my book because they make too many mistakes and they get stuff wrong. And so I'd rather still use Google Scholar and some of these existing tools. Like, I'd rather use Wikipedia because I know Wikipedia sometimes makes mistakes, but there was a real human who was really trying to cite things properly when they were writing those essays. But who knows where it's going to go in the future? And so I think all I would say right now is to keep an open mind and to keep open the idea that while some skills will be substituted, new skills are going to be created. And I think it's those new skills that are going to be created that they may end up defining the future of work for the next 30 or 40 years. If it turns out that, what it means to be a programmer just fundamentally changes when you can have an AI that can do like 80% of the programming work. Well, that 20% that they can't do, and the other 10% which is involving like managing the AI, that's going to become super important. And so I think the people who are aware of this and who are on the cutting edge are going to be people who are like paying attention to this trend and being like, okay, well, what do I need to be really good at to make use of this technology in a productive way?